Greetings everybody. Let us have a look at Japan bond. So in front of me is the monthly chart of Japan bond open, and already I can see that we had a very nice head and shoulders pattern in this region, with this being the left hand shoulder, this being the head, and this being the right hand shoulder. And we saw that price actually broke the neckline of this particular pattern to the bottom side. And another thing that is very much interesting is the fact that we have this candlestick over here, which closed as a bearish candlestick with a small body and a long lower wick, right? So at this point where this candlestick ends, we have a whole lot of liquidity stuck there, and it tells us that in the future price will come back to that level to grab that liquidity, and then after that possibly move further up, right? So what I'm going to do now is actually add the neckline of this particular head and shoulders pattern, so just bear with me guys. Let's see, I'm just going to make it a blue color. There we go. So there goes our neckline of that huge head and shoulders pattern. Just bear with me guys. And just to remind you guys, when it comes to necklines, just remember that necklines are not a line, they are rather an area, like I've done in that particular region, right? Another thing that I'm going to do is actually mark this level over here, because we have a whole lot of liquidity that's sitting at that level, and as I said, the market needs to head down to collect that liquidity at some point or another. It may take a year, it may take 2 years, it may even take 10 years for the market to actually reach this particular level to grab that liquidity. Nonetheless, it is still very much a very important level, and we just need to make sure that we mark it as well. There we go, there goes our level. All right, so just looking at this monthly chart of Japan bond, is there anything else of interest that we should be paying attention to? Is there anything else of value that we should be looking at? So let's see. Let's have a look. So as much as we have this level over here, or rather this candlestick over here, which is carrying so much liquidity, we also have a similar candlestick on this side. Just bear with me. We also have this candlestick over here. It's very much similar to this candlestick in that it is also carrying a whole lot of liquidity at that level, and it also tells us that the market at one point or another has to come to that level. Similarly, we also have one at this level. It's also a liquidity candlestick, and we have a third one at this level. So as much as I'm saying that the market needs to come to this level to grab some liquidity, there is actually scope for the market to push further down to these levels over here, right? And what would also happen is that the this particular head and shoulders pattern would be complete, in my humble opinion, if it were to come to this level, because this is where it started, more or less, if you look at the structure, right? So yeah, ideally I would love to see price come to this level and then push up, but in the back of our minds we need to keep the fact that price may get to this level to grab all of those liquidity levels, as well as to complete this head and shoulders structure, right? So that is our monthly chart. I don't see much of value here. Let me just zoom in a bit. Another thing that is also very interesting is the fact that we have in this region an M structure with the neckline being there. So by now you know that when it comes to M structures, ideally would love to see price break the neckline and then head back to the neckline to retest it, which is where we would look for further selling opportunities, as that is the anticipation, right? However, we are yet to see price come back to the neckline to retest it and then possibly push further down. However, I'm not too concerned about the neckline of this M structure, because at this point in time the most important neckline is this one, and that is the neckline of that huge head and shoulders pattern that we spoke about, right? Anyway, let's proceed. Another thing that is also very much interesting is the fact that we have this candlestick over here. It is a bullish candlestick with a small body and a long upper wick. So it tells us that we have a whole lot of liquidity at that point and that the market needs to grab that liquidity. Anyway, I don't see anything else really here on this particular chart that is of interest. What I'm going to do now is head down to the weekly chart. So here we are on the weekly chart. Let's see. So what do we see on this weekly chart? What do we see on this weekly chart that we should be paying attention to? I'm just going to go back to the monthly chart. Just want to have a look. So on the monthly chart, I spoke about how we have this pattern. Price broke the neckline of this pattern and then went back up to retest it. So at this point in time, we should be looking for selling opportunities at this level, and that is because, as I said, guys, that once the neckline has been broken, ideally would love to see price head back to the neckline to retest it and then push further down, right? So at this point in time, we're looking for selling opportunities at this level. I'm not saying that we should just sell because price is at this level. I'm saying that we should be looking for further selling opportunities, right? So let's proceed. I'm going to go back to the weekly chart. So here we are on the weekly chart. So what do we see on the weekly chart that we should be paying attention to, or that is very much interesting? On the weekly chart, as much as we have, as I said, that huge head and shoulders pattern that I spoke about, we also have an inverted head and shoulders pattern in this region, with this side being the left hand shoulder, this side being the head, and this side being the right hand shoulder, right? However, in my humble opinion, this head and shoulders pattern on the top side is much more powerful than this one on the bottom side. Why do I say so? That is because it is, number one, much bigger, and number two, we also have price at the moment retesting the neckline of that huge head and shoulders pattern. Number three, we also have this level over here which is carrying a lot of liquidity, and we know that the market needs to at some point just fill that liquidity and grab the capital that's sitting at that level, right? So let's continue. So what else do we see on this chart that is interesting that we should be paying attention to? I don't see much really. So what I'm going to do now is actually head down to the daily chart. Okay, so here we are on the daily chart. So the first thing that I'm going to do on the daily chart is add my channel. So just bear with me. Let's see. We just need to ensure that our channel is as accurate as can be, just to ensure that at the end of the day, when we do buy or sell, our execution is as perfect as possible. So there we go, there goes our channel. So can you guys see that on our channel we had just bear with me, on our channel we had a touch there, we had a second touch there, we had a third touch there rather, and we saw price pushing up. A lot of people, or a lot of traders and investors sold on that third touch over there, and a lot of them actually made money when price got to this level over here, right? Then we saw price move up again, and more traders and investors sold again here on the fourth touch, as the anticipation is that price will move further down to at least that level, right? So let's proceed. So what else do we see on the daily chart that is particularly interesting? So on the daily chart, we also have a gap in this region, and as with liquidity candlesticks, gaps also represent liquidity, and this also tells us that in the future the market needs to come to this point to grab that liquidity that's sitting in that gap, and then again to this level where we have that candlestick that's carrying that liquidity that we spoke about, right? So what else do we see on this chart that is particularly very interesting? So we also have an M structure here in this region with a neckline being there. We saw price break the neckline and it went back up and closed just above the neckline, but also to retest this particular trend line over there. So this neckline, I suppose, at this point in time is not that important, because as you can see, price has closed just above that neckline, right? So my point in pointing out that M structure is that we have this M structure with a neckline being there. We also have this trend line, right? And we also have this neckline of the huge head and shoulders pattern that we spoke about on the monthly chart. So this, in my humble opinion, is confirmation that we should be selling at this location indeed, because there's just too much confluence. We've got this neckline of this M structure. In fact, let me just go back just to repeat that. So we have, right, this M structure, its neckline is there, price is currently retesting that neckline, right? Number two, we have this neckline of that huge head and shoulders pattern, right? And it's also being tested currently. Number three, we also have this trend line over here, which has multiple touches on it. And as I say, guys, we should be looking for selling opportunities at this point. And our first take profit should be this level over here, where we have that gap. And our second take profit should be this level over here, where we have this candle filling that needs to take place. However, we need to go into the lower time frames to look for actual selling opportunities, because at this point in time, I don't see an actual selling opportunity, right? However, I do know for sure that in this region we should be looking for, or rather be looking to sell, but we need further reasons. Yeah, anyway, let's continue. Let's see. So what I want to do now is head down to the H4 chart. Just bear with me. Let's see. On the H4 chart, I'm just gonna start by fixing my my trend lines. Okay, there we are. Let's see. So what else do we see on the H4 chart that we should be paying attention to? Let's see. So let's see. So the first thing that I'm going to do on this particular chart before we continue is add my channel. So let me have a look. How would I add my channel? I would do it this way. Let's see, just bear with me. There we go. So there goes my H4 channel. There we go. There we go. Okay, let me just fix that part as well. All right. So what do we see on this H4 chart of Japan bond? The first thing that I see on this chart is the fact that we had, just bear with me, or rather we have in this region a W formation with a neckline being in this region. However, we are yet to see price retest the neckline of that W structure, because when it comes to W structures, ideally would love to see price break the neckline, come back to retest it, and then push further up, in which case we would look for further buying opportunities in that region, right? Another thing that is also very interesting is the fact that here on the second leg of the W structure, we had a lot of traders and investors buying in that location, and that is because when it comes to W structures, we know that a lot of traders and investors buy on the second leg of that W structure, putting their stop losses just below. So we have a whole lot of stop losses just below here. right? So as I said, guys, we have a whole lot of stop losses just below here, and not only do we have stop losses at that point, we also have this level over here which is carrying so much liquidity, and the market needs to come back at some point to this level to trigger those stop losses as well as to grab that liquidity. So the next thing that I'm going to do is actually add the neckline of that W structure. Just bear with me. There we go. There we go. As I said, guys, price uh, price has to come back to retest the neckline of this W structure in the future, and also grab the liquidity that's sitting up down here, because we have a gap in that location, right? So the scope for price to move further down, right? So what else do we see on this chart that we should be paying attention to? Let's have a look. So we also have an M formation in this region with the neckline being there. However, the neckline is not broken as yet. However, in the future or over the next couple of days or hours, I would love to see price break the neckline. Price break the neckline here, and then go back to the neckline to retest it. And if it does do that, we will look for further, or rather we would look for selling opportunities at this point, and our first take profit would be this zone over here, because it is the neckline of that W structure that we spoke about. And our second take profit would be this level over here, because it's that level that I spoke about, which is carrying a whole lot of liquidity, and I said that the market needs to grab that liquidity at some stage or another. However, as I said, the neckline of just bear with me, the neckline of the structure has not yet been broken, so we just need to, at this point in time, wait for the neckline to be broken. And as I said, guys, that already the market is at a very strategic area, and on a daily chart I said that we should indeed be looking for selling opportunities. So this would be our selling opportunity, right? So just to recap, we have an M structure here with a neckline there. The neckline is yet to be broken, right? So what we need to do, just to reiterate, is just wait for the neckline to be broken. Once price closes below this neckline, once prices closes below this neckline over here, wait for it to go back to the neckline to retest it, and this is where we would look for further selling opportunities to this point, which would be our first take profit, as well as this point over here, which would be our second take profit. So that is my analysis in as far as Japan bond goes. Peace out.